And on our podcast here, we're doing a rewatch. And so we're starting with the first like 4 episodes, which is the pilot on Leather Wings, Heart of Ice, and Feet of Clay, parts 1 and 2. So I haven't seen the pilot in actually a while, just to start things off. And I was like my first impression, I was like surprised by a lot of stuff. First off, there was another Alfred. There was like another Alfred voice for like 3 production episodes for whatever reason. There wasn't I believe his name is Efren Zimbas Jr. So that's like if they did
It's actually Clive Revel.
yeah. And I've never heard of that other actor because for me the DCAU Alfred is the guy that voices Doctor Octopus too on the Spider-Man cartoons.
Well, actually, fun fact: Clive Revel is also the guy who played what was it, Senator Palpatine in
Oh
Empire
really?
Strikes Back in the original version
Oh,
of Empire Strikes Back.
that's pretty cool. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What's really cool about these is that they are all a product of animation in the in like the early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
um at this time is like when you got like is when you're getting a lot of like Looney Tune, like the baby Looney Tunes. You're getting a lot of like was it the Animaniacs? You're getting a lot of those.
Yeah.
And the only problem is that a lot of animators didn't want to do this kind of stuff anymore. They were really
Yeah.
tired of getting all of these like restrictions saying you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't have like, they can't kill each other, they can't shoot each other, they can barely even hit each other. So what the hell are we supposed to do? And it really did make this thing where a lot of animators really wanted to quit. Paul Dini even says, at the time when I was doing Animaniacs, I
Mm-hmm.
thought I was going to quit. Like I thought I was just going to stop doing animations. I was going to stop writing for him. And then he did Heart of Ice, and Bruce Timm and them were able to convince him to like write Heart of Ice. And now he's in, like he's like
Yeah.
completely into the DC universe and stuff like that. So these are really cool. It also did a real cool technical thing
Mm-hmm.
of they drew on black paper in order
Oh.
to get that darkness out, which is so interesting. They were like, how exactly are we going to animate a dark and gritty Gotham?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the artists was just like, what about instead of having to put dark into like writing on white paper, why don't we put light into darkness and like
Oh.
actually just make the city out of dark paper? And that's how you get those like really dark sceneries and dark gothic like locales and stuff like that. By far, it's an amazing show, and and
Yeah.
technically it's amazing.
No, it still holds up too. Because I was gonna say, because when I started watching, it was like on Kids WB, and it's probably reruns, but it
Mm-hmm.
initially aired on, I think like Fox Kids. Like Rob, do you remember like what the initial impression like was, like to fans or like fandom when that show came out? Like because it's for its time, like it's airing on like what like a show, a network that has like baby Looney Tunes, like stuff like that. That's really for kids, and this is like it's not edgy, but it's like it's a more mature and it really trusts its audience to like get to like ingest like these like more like kind of storylines with depth.
Yeah, I think the thing to remember too also is just from my context, I was, it's early 90s, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
I'm I'm finishing high school. I'm just starting high school in 90. So cartoons were kind of out of the picture for me at this point, uh,
Yeah.
as a major thing. But this is the one that if we were around, it wasn't appointment TV for me. But if I was in front of a TV and it was on, I would still watch it. And I think what most people who truly understand like writing for kids, be it comics, novels, movies, whatever, is you write it a level above your audience, because kids like being in on something they think is for somebody slightly older than them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the genius of this series. It's, we're not going to treat you like you're stupid.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to suggest, we're going to say, you get this, this,
Mm-hmm.
you know what this stuff's about. We're not going to talk down to you. We're not going to necessarily spell out a moral at the end. the moral will be there, but we're going to trust if you watch the episode, you understand what the moral is or the lesson is without, a segment at the end with the, Batman turning to the screen and saying, "Hey kids," you know?
Yeah.
And so it appealed to kids at that time. And then, as those kids got older, and they started showing it to other people, like it spread out of that. The kids that watched it at the time loved it. It didn't really go beyond that. But when you get into then, DVD collections, streaming, where it's more accessible by other people, it starts expanding beyond just that target kids that they had at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, a big person that we can really thank for it is Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg actually, because they hired him to basically revamp the entire animation portion of Warner Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, he goes, "Cool, we're opening an entire studio. We're not shipping it out. We're not doing anything else. We're doing it all in house." And then Warner Brothers originally was like, "That's not really how we do things, Steve. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's weird." And then he goes, "Doesn't matter. That's how we're doing it now." And then he also hired a full orchestra to do all of their music. That's why if you specifically notice Warner Brothers cartoons, they have orchestral soundtracks
Right.
for all of their animation. And they even said too, that's not how we do sound inside of cartoons. You just get like a little tiny sound thing and then you clip it in as you need it. And he goes, "That's not how Warner Brothers does it. Warner Brothers now does a full-on orchestras." And without that, you wouldn't have that iconic Batman.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because they reused the Danny Elfman theme, but they it's not like beat for beat. Like they kind of change it up a little bit. I noticed.
Well, actually, the funny thing is that Shirley Walker is the person who actually did
right
for Batman the Animated Series. She was a co-producer with Danny Elfman when he was making the Batman theme. So when she made it, she wanted it to kind of still have that resemblance of what people at the time knew this is Batman's theme, but also give it its own little spin for herself. And she did the whole Batman what was it, soundtrack, like all those like iconic sounds. She did it.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, that's actually the main reason why. And she also did like a bunch of stuff for like Animaniacs, stuff like that. That's why actually the studio inside of Warner Brothers is actually called the Shirley Walker Studio, because she was like the founder of like all of these like great musical sounds and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, she's a great musician. I believe she passed away too.
Yeah, she ended up
Yeah.
passing away probably like in like mid 2000s, I believe.
Yeah.
If I'm not
But
wrong.
yeah, there's some like great themes for the soundtrack, like for the Ra's al Ghul episode, like all that it has like a lot of Arabic sort of sounding,
Yes.
wind chimes, things like that. Joker's theme is like really good on this show, where it goes like I'm trying to remember. It's like it's like a it's like kind of like
Yeah.
a
It's very playful.
yeah, it's
Very
a very
playful.
playful one, and that's and also I think like it's that theme that Danny Elfman did is still I think like the like whenever I think of Batman, that theme always pops in my head. I'm not sure for you guys as well, or is it Adam
Yes.
West?
Adam West. I'm still
Yeah.
Adam West.
Okay.
Because Batman 89 is kind of like my first
Yeah.
introduction into Batman. It's definitely Danny Elfman's thing. Later on, when I finally understood what Batman 69 was, because I remember seeing episodes of it because my parents showed it to me,
Yeah.
and
Same.
just going like, "This is completely different from what I know. Like, this is not Batman."
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
when it should have been the reverse.
hmm
This is not my
Well,
Batman.
I was gonna say also, people credit Batman '89 to kind of like this 180 in the character from going like Adam West to and both versions are great to the seriousness of like the Batman we see today, but I also think Batman the animated series definitely contributed to that, like because he's a very angry character in like the first couple episodes, because I'm looking, he's kind of at odds with the police, like in Leather Wings, like I think like Bullock tries to go after him. The way they also kind of portray like the GCPD is interesting, because obviously he's allies with Gordon and Renee Montoya, but like he's really at odds with like Harvey Bullock, who they either portray like outright kind of villainous or comical, you know. And yeah, I don't know. I found that really interesting because I don't know, for a lot of Batman lore and things, he's, except at the very beginning, he's usually like allies, I guess, with GCPD in most of the stories where, obviously you have conflict at the start of his career, but gradually it gets better. But yeah, this one's like interesting because also I remember in Mask of the Phantasm, they also try to like kill Batman too. So
Yeah, there's always like a very tenuous relationship between Batman and the GCPD. There's
yeah.
like it's either they get along great and they share information and
Mhm.
like he's welcome into crime scenes, like in
Yeah.
the Batman that's coming out, Matt Reeves' Batman, where everybody just kind of seems really cool with Batman walking in on a fucking crime scene.
Yeah. There's that
And
there's that scene
huh?
where there's that scene I think like Gordon holds him up against the wall in the
Yeah, where
trailer.
he's talking to a bunch of cops and then
Yeah.
like Gordon has to like separate them because they start getting into a fight, which
Mhm.
once again, Matt Reeves Batman looks dope as hell.
Yeah.
But
Rob, I was gonna say, Rob, were you hyped for that or
Yeah, I
or
mean, I definitely want to see it. I
okay.
always like seeing the new takes on Batman. I haven't followed the trailers enough. I haven't looked at any of it, but I definitely want to see it. I just think also, when you talk about sort of the turn in Batman, I mean, it starts with the artist formerly known as Frank Miller
Mhm.
doing Dark Knight,
Yes.
Returns,
Yeah.
right?
yeah,
Goes from that to '89 to the animated series, and you had maybe for the first time ever, like a unified theory of Batman, right?
Mhm.
That all
yeah,
the mediums were sort of basing it around the same characterization of him.
Yeah.
And
mhm.
Which is like year one, Dark Knight
right,
Returns.
year
Yeah.
one, Dark Knight Returns,
Well,
the
that was
animated
the
series, '89.
well, that was the thing though, is that because a lot of times during whenever they would do like a comic, like a what was it, an animation version, like the Super Friends,
Mhm.
comic book writers and creators and everything like that hated the Super Friends. They thought it was
Yeah.
so stupid. They thought it was, yes, it's for kids, but like they didn't get anything right. There was nothing about the comic books that was right. There's nothing about the characters that are right.
Yeah.
All they got
'Cause-
right basically is their names and equipment that to
because
make toys.
I grew up watching the Super Friends, and I remember Batman relies like so much on the back computer for everything, and then also like his utility belt, which is like shark repellent,
True.
things like that. And I love the Super Friends, but like Batman's like, yeah, he's really relying on the back computer in that.
Well,
Yeah.
Batman, when it's one of those things of like in the Super Friends thing, is Batman is the guy who gets all the information about what the hell's going on,
Yeah.
and then the Super Friends go deal with it, while Batman just kind of like
Mhm.
stands there and makes fun of Robin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Uh,
I mean, Batman's not going to punch anybody harder than Superman. So,
Yeah.
like,
yeah,
he's not going
Yeah.
to catch somebody in a chase faster than Flash.
Then you also have like what, like Jan and like what was the other guy, the Wonder Twins,
Zena.
Jan
Zaina,
and Zena, yeah, the Wonder Twin powers,
and then they're kind
yeah.
of useful, but then you have like Wendy and Marvin who do
But I will tell you,
monsters.
just to offshoot it, get Mark Russell's Wonder Twins series, because
Mhm.
there's nobody better at satire than Mark Russell in comics right now. And
Nice.
just the fact that they fight a villain named Captain Red Flag, who literally is a walking red flag about somebody you'd want, a girl might look to date. Um,
Oh my God.
it's so good. It's so good.
That's
The
crazy.
He's
but
the
that's
guy who
the thing
did, if you
though.
don't know, he did the Flintstones and the Snagglepuss
That
series.
Flintstones comic I heard is dark.
It's it's dark because they talk about how they got rid of the Neanderthals, and there's a scene where Fred turns to Barney and goes, "Barney, we committed a genocide."
What?
Yeah, that's in it. Yeah, I remember that.
There's
I
also the greatest part about it too is the development of marriage,
yeah.
because marriage wasn't a thing, so they decided to get married, and all the protests about like how one man and one woman is unnatural.
Oh my God.
It's
Uh,
so
some good satire
so
right
good.
there.
It's so good.
But
Yeah.
The Snagglepuss one
Hmm.
is even. I mean, I was stunned at how good that one was.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard the Snagglepuss one was good. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. But I was gonna say, also for Batman, just going on Heart of Ice, because like Mr. Freeze gets like overhauled in the show
yes,
because on Batman 66, he's Mr. Zero. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, but like before this, like no one really liked Mr. Freeze or took him seriously, right?
He was what type of villain could we have to do something wintry? You know, it really there was nothing there for him.
If I remember correctly, a lot of like the early like 60s, 70s comic books, they did basically what Schumacher did, where he was a villain who could freeze stuff. He was stealing diamonds, and he made a lot of like winter, like a lot of like ice puns. Like that was like his big thing.
Yeah.
And then in Heart of Ice, they then added in this backstory of his wife and the reason why he has ice power, like about Nora. So like when Schumacher did his thing, he was like, well, why don't we just get both and we'll mix them together?
Yeah. Because I was going to say what you will though about Batman and Robin, but at least they get that backstory right for Mr. Freeze, at least, even though I feel like Arnold knows the type of movie that he is in during Batman and Robin. He's totally going for it, but you have like Clooney and like all the, I think like, well, Uma Thurman, but you have like Clooney as Batman, like taking it really seriously, and like Arnold knows.
If you go back to like actually Batman and Robin and stuff like that, Schumacher is known for periodically going onto the thing of don't take it seriously, we're doing a comic book.
Yeah, it's campy. Yeah,
it's supposed to be campy, and then he would show him like Batman 66 like episodes and stuff like that. So he was very much trying to go for the camp, but also he was trying to mix in this Paul Dini 1989 mix.
Yeah,
doesn't make sense. Like it just doesn't fit. It really doesn't, because you're going for the seriousness of what Paul Dini was trying to do with the Batman animated series of like, Mr. Freeze has a reason why he's doing this.
Yeah. And
then it's like, oh yeah, but we'll mix it in the 69 where he's just like making fun of ice. What killed the dinosaurs? What
the Ice Age.
It's bad. I think me and a buddy of mine tried to do the drinking game for Batman and Robin. You have to drink every single time Mr. Freeze makes a ice pun.
How many ice puns are there? Like what? Like 50?
We don't remember the end of the movie.
You lost count.
Well, because it was that, and then it was every single time Poison Ivy, which like implied sexuality. What was it? Every single time Robin complained. It was just basically just keep drinking throughout the movie and just don't
keep drinking,
stop.
Man. There you go.
That was basically that wasn't a game at that point.
Do you guys have a favorite ice pun though from Batman and Robin?
What killed the dinosaurs?
Yeah.
Nice. That's the
best. I wish Batman had stopped and said, technically that's a misnomer.
Right? Like if he could do the line about the back credit card, like why he didn't do that line.
Yeah.
I've seen so many people go back and go like, oh, why would he have a Bat credit card? Couldn't they just trace the Bat, like who the credit card's going to? And then they would go, why is Bruce Wayne paying all of Batman's bills? Like this is
Well, hey, and then Grant Morrison fixed that when he did Batman Inc.
There you go.
In which that totally makes sense of just Batman going like, yeah, I'm not Batman, but I'm paying for Batman.
Yeah.
So, just so that
that's the perfect alibi right there. He's like, I know you think I am, but actually I just finance him.
It's like, what if we make Batman your bodyguard? It's like, no, Marvel did that with Tony Stark already. Okay, what if we just finance him? Okay, that works.
Yeah. But I was gonna say, also for this episode, like the stuff that they have to say about like giant corporations and like kind of like corporate America, pretty interesting because like Goth Corp, I'm trying to remember the line where where Bruce is taking that meeting with the CEO and like he's like super condescending towards like, you know, what happened to Freeze, and he's like, oh yeah, it was just it was just some crazy guy, like we didn't do anything, like we didn't try to screw him over, you know, with his research.
It's actually our first introduction to Mark Hamill inside of
Mark does other voices in that. That's interesting.
Before he was cast as the Joker, he was just doing like little tiny bit pieces because Tim Curry was originally.
Yeah, that's right. I think Tim Curry might have recorded some lines.
No, he recorded all of his lines.
Yeah, that's right.
He finished Joker's Favor. He had done it. He had done like that in like 2 other episodes.
Yeah.
But the problem was that what was it? He had already done Peter Pan. And he had done like a couple other shows. So when they were listening to it, it sounded like Captain Hook.
Interesting.
They were just like, kids are gonna think this is Captain Hook. They're not gonna think it's Joker. We need to get somebody else.
I would like kill to like hear the recordings of like Tim Curry as Joker, or like just edit all his Peter Pan lines into like Joker.
Well,
That'd be interesting.
according to Mark Hamill, what he had said is that it was already animated and recorded. Like he had to, in Joker's favor, he actually had to match his lips to what Tim Curry already did.
Oh wow.
So he had to do his own thing while also trying to still keep with the cadence of Tim Curry. So
yeah. I think we also need to appreciate any series that starts without introducing the main villain in the first one.
Right. Yeah.
The fact that they held off on Joker.
For like at least, yeah, they went with Man-Bat. Joker comes in like
there is also a special accommodation starting with the worst villain that somebody has, and they went out and did that with Man-Bat.
That's not true. They didn't start with Condiment King.
Condiment King rules. I will have none of that, sir.
I love Condiment King too.
Condiment King. Because Rob, I don't know if you watched the Harley Quinn show, which is amazing.
I haven't yet.
Okay, you need to see it. It's on HBO Max.
Condiment King and Kite Man get like the greatest. Like
they hate each other.
They're the best. They're the best. They're rivals, and only they think they're rivals, and it's so funny.
Okay. Yeah. Hey guys, I gotta go. I need to watch this now.
So
Batman
funny.
Good, everything else good. Where can we find you on social media?
But it's so funny because it would just be like, my rival's been here. Who? Condiment King.
Yeah, I know. Rob's gonna love Harley Quinn. We love that.
Oh,
show.
It's so great. Yeah.
Please tell me there's a scene where Kite Man is in his like civilian clothes and he goes and he orders a hot dog and like the person behind the counter asks, "Do you want any ketchup or mustard on it?" And Kite Man just goes ballistic and just starts beating people up. No condiments.
Oh man.
No, but there is Kite Man doesn't really take off his thing.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of like times where like he'll sit somewhere and then he just sees like mayonnaise, and then it'll just be like, Condiment King.
Keeps pranking him. I love Kite Man. Kite Man's like,
Kite Man, hell yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny.
But I was gonna say, just going back to Batman, Mike Mignola actually redesigned Freeze, and for the series, because I believe he was working on the show. But that's cool that they make Freeze like so gothic as well. Like he's like so almost like techno. Not techno punk. Like was it like
steampunk?
Steampunk. Yeah, he's basically like steampunk. Because like this is the guy that does Gotham by Gaslights.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it fits the aesthetic that they're going for.
Yeah.
The look of the show as a whole. And again, when this is the one when I was rewatching, I called the wife in. I'm like, "You've never seen this, and I bet you'll cry by the end of it."
Mm-hmm.
She didn't go to. She was close. She didn't get there, but I mean, it was. Yeah, it's amazing. And the rehab it did on, elevating Mr. Freeze, not only in the animated series, but, comics are good at taking what worked in other medium, if it works, and, bringing it into, I mean, again, Renee Montoya wasn't a character in the comics before. And so it was so well done. It's probably my favorite single episode of the whole series.
This show did a really great job of the main thing that was really cool about this is they made it that the villains weren't just like, I'm here to rob things and cause trouble. They gave them depth and they made them so much more interesting than even Batman at times, where you're just like, I want to see more of like what's going on with like Mr. Freeze or what's going on with Catwoman or whatever.
And the thing is, Batman is an interesting character, but he's also an interesting character that we've thought about for a long time.
Yeah.
Like we've all thought about, oh my God, what if I were that scenario, or what makes him do this? We've had the debate over Batman's the real identity and Bruce Wayne's the mask and, all that stuff. Right.
Yeah.
And if you gave us, but now giving us these criminals that we can, I mean, compare and contrast to Batman, right? Batman, had he been Mr. Freeze's character, probably wouldn't have tried to kill the guy. He probably would have tried to amass wealth and buy out every corporation in the world. Like that would have been his response to it, right? So how does somebody else respond to this action, right?
To the trauma.
To the trauma. I think, put a mark in that, because I think we'll come back to that later and some other things, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we get into WandaVision.
Well,
But I was
the
gonna,
thing is that what's really cool is that for the animated series, like there's an episode later on, I think it's in season 2, where it's called Almost Got Him,
yeah,
where it's
yeah,
just an
that's
entire episode all about literally the villains on how exactly they almost killed Batman.
mhm.
And I
That's a trope that goes back to the comics. They've done
Yeah.
that in the comics, dude. It's so good.
Yeah.
but I love it too because there's all like they're all telling like these elaborate stories. They
Mhm.
explain how like Batman gets the giant penny.
Yeah.
Not only that, but also I love Killer Croc's where he's just like, so
Threw a
what did you
rock.
do, Croc? I threw a rock at him.
That's one of the best
He's
lines.
just
That's-
like, and then they were just like, you threw a rock? It was a really big rock.
was it? Yeah, that one's brilliant too, because like I guess spoiler, it's supposed to be Batman imitating Killer Croc, and he's like,
Yeah,
"What would Killer Croc do?" He would
yeah.
just throw a
Like,
rock at
how would
me.
they believe
and
that it's Killer Croc? And it's just,
And I love that they revisit that because you have Killer Croc. I think in either the new Batman or this series, he does throw a rock at Batman and just misses.
yeah.
Like by a good margin, he misses it so bad. And then when they do the trial of Batman and he's among the trial, like I think he says like, how are we gonna kill him? He's like, throw a rock at him.
Yeah, he does.
And I think I was texting Rob about that episode because
Yeah.
for the impeachment, I don't know if you've seen that meme, Nick, where it's like, man, they had a whole episode of Batman where the villains were the jury for this trial of Batman, and they decided to acquit Batman based on the evidence. But like all these Republicans decided to acquit Trump despite being villains too. Like,
Yeah.
who would have known? Who would have known? Like Killer
Yeah.
Croc has like more scruples than like Mitch McConnell.
Let's just throw a rock
First
at
of all,
him.
I would have, because crocodiles have more scruples than turtles. But
Oh, yeah.
look, I also want to point out in the Clayface episodes,
Yes.
Yes.
as much as we get into the more serious take on Batman, I will say the most Batman moment of the 4 episodes we watched
Mhm.
was Batman saying the phrase, "That jaw in my fist felt familiar."
I know I've hit
That's
that guy
right.
before. I know
Right?
I've hit him
Like-
before.
That's some Batman 68 stuff. That's some 66 stuff, right? That's some Batman like, no, Robin, 3 weeks ago, I started training.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What's that one scene in like I don't know if it's I think it's either in the comic or 66 where I think it's in a comic where they have to like Batman like looks at the TV from another angle to like get like a proper like look at a criminal, but like if you're looking at like the TV, it still looks the same. I
Yeah.
don't know what that was about, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
all I know is that when I heard, because I hadn't seen the Clayface episodes in years.
yeah.
And when I was rewatching it, I was like, I don't remember ever hearing that line, and that
Mhm.
is hilarious.
Yeah.
I just died. I'm sitting here watching
Yeah.
this serious story. It's really
I
good.
know I've
Got
punched that man
gravitas.
before.
Mhm.
I know that jaw feels familiar to my fist.
Yeah, it's such a Batman thing.
That's
It's such a
the most
thing to say.
Batman
Mhm.
thing.
I know I've whooped
Yeah.
this guy's ass before. Who was he?
Yeah, I was gonna say this episode, these 2 parts are interesting because essentially it's Batman, or was it? It's Bruce Wayne fugitive, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's Bruce Wayne being framed for a crime he didn't commit, which we see in that storyline. I don't know if you like that one, Rob, but some people.
The only
I
thing is that it wasn't exactly like
I don't remember it, to be honest, that
Okay.
well. I mean, I read it.
Mhm.
It was there. It wasn't. It didn't stick out in my head as something I'm still mad about years later.
Right.
But
Or-
the thing
yeah.
is that for this, like you don't really feel it. Like the entire episode, like Alfred makes one line of just like, "What am I supposed to do about the police?"
Yeah. It's like tell him I'm
And
not
then
here.
he goes like, "What about the police, Alfred?" And he goes, "Read the newspaper, dude."
But
You're
I
being
also,
accused of almost assassinating Lucius
yeah,
Fox.
but I also like that fact that I guess he's seen like Arkham Knight or like Bruce Wayne Fugitive or a bunch of other like mediums where if like Bruce Wayne ever gets like committed, or excuse me, like gets like put a warrant or something happens, Batman's like, well, I could just be Batman, like I'll be fine, like I don't need to go out as Bruce Wayne. I like being Batman.
Yeah. And the most accurate thing is how quickly Bruce Wayne made bail.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, oh wait, I have money, you know.
Actually, Rob, he was never even questioned.
Right.
His butler kept saying he wasn't home. The cops just went, okay.
Oh yeah, he's not, can we look through the house? It's like, oh,
Dude,
if you want.
Come on, guys. Butlers never lie.
Yeah. But
The Gotham PD just went, yeah, Bruce ain't there. He's got a giant mansion, but he's not home.
We searched the house. Where does this pole go? To the garage. Okay, I guess we don't need to check it.
what about that giant cave over there? It's not in there.
It's where he keeps his cars. Oh, okay, we'll take your word for it.
That's where he keeps the prostitutes.
Well, what is it like in
The
Batman?
live ones.
Yeah. What happens in like Batman Year One, where like no, it's in like 0 Year, where like Gordon finds the cave and like just bats like attack him.
Yeah.
You know.
Pretty awesome.
But,
It's actually
yeah,
it's really funny.
that's a good thing. But I was gonna say
Also, how would you not guess that that's Batman if you have a cave full of bats? I'd be like, that's kind of weird.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, but Batman's smart. So Batman would put the cave of bats farther away from him.
Mm-hmm.
And now this becomes a Princess Bride scene. But Batman knows you know that Batman is smart.
yeah, so he wouldn't do that because Batman knows that you would think that Batman would do that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's great.
But yeah, also I think you have like one of the first guest stars on this episode, which is like Ron Perlman
Ron
as
Perlman.
Clayface.
Yeah.
And
Well, technically the second. I mean, technically
Yeah.
the second. Because
No,
Mark
for-
Hamill, I mean, Mark Hamill is technically he's a motherfucking Jedi.
yeah. But like I guess like a guest like star as a villain. And his Clayface is really good because they combined a lot of stuff from the comics, because there's like multiple Clayfaces. There's like
Right.
4 or 5. And like I think like the Matt Hagen one is like more or less the prime version at this point. Everyone
Mhm.
looks to instead of like Basil Carlo. But yeah, his I really like his like kind of like washed up actor sort of take on the character. Like he just wants to work. And also like I think Clayface, like he's also just being Clayface just so he could act again too.
Yep.
You
Mhm.
know? That was like cool, but like yeah,
So
also
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was just gonna say I was also digging like all the animation in this episode, like the scene where like Clayface, I forgot like Batman's like messing him up or beating him up or whatever, and he's like morphing into all the people he impersonated, like he can't hold his form. And it
Mhm.
kind of reminded me of, I don't know if anyone's seen Acura, but it reminded me of like oh, it's like an anime.
No, I know
whatever,
what it is. I haven't
Oh,
seen
yeah.
it. Yeah.
where like what's it like what's I forgot his name. Nick, you seen Acura?
Yes, I don't remember his name.
Yeah, where the character's like having this body horror, like morphing into a giant blob. It really reminded me of that, and I was like, I wonder if that was like an influence. I don't know.
Might have been, but the cooler thing about it is that because when I was rewatching it, I was kind of taking it as an actor who has a substance abuse problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
what I kind of was watching it as, because it's he keeps on talking about like, oh yeah, like I got into an accident, now everything just hurts.
Yeah.
But this is the only thing that helps me. I have to still do my job. My job is the most important thing. So I thought it was like this weird like PSA on like like kind of like drugs and like not to do them and stuff like that. It was interesting.
Is the redemption of Clayface then he gets a job to be Iron Man?
No, he gets a job to be a woman.
No, but I'm saying like if an actor with a substance abuse problem overcomes it.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Downey.
Oh yeah.
Well,
No,
I was
he,
gonna say, I was gonna say that Clayface actually kind of reminds me of Gary Busey.
Well, what I was gonna say actually, and
Not Gary Busey.
my thought was, what modern day actor is Clayface? Like, if this thing were in real life,
Yeah.
and why is it Daniel Day-Lewis?
Just morphs into the person, yeah.
Right? Like,
Mhm.
it's either Johnny Depp or Daniel Day-Lewis, right? Like, it's got to be like he would do that. He would
Yeah.
put something on his face to transform. I mean, because
yeah.
you saw the pirate, you saw.
Yeah. Yeah, I would probably go with Johnny Depp.
All he was missing was Abe Lincoln.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, these were like, I guess wrapping up before we go into WandaVision, like, yeah, these were some really solid episodes. And like, just seeing this out of the gate, just being a kid like in the 90s, I would have been like, forward. And like, yeah, it's just amazing that they did that, because, this is like, it's a kid show, but then it's not, it's like, it's a show that just has a lot to say just about real world issues, and really appreciate that.
And just doesn't talk down.
Mm-hmm.
It's slightly a level above, but it trusts the kids to get it.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
the thing I really like about it as well is the fact that they, instead of them responding, because a lot of times it's out of voice acting, especially in cartoons, especially in the 90s, what they would do is they would then record, they would bring in the next actor, they record,
Hmm.
and then they would go back and forth, basically just responding to whatever the other person did. I really like Batman the Animated Series just because they would do a group recording.
Yeah,
They would all
yeah,
be in one room recording and responding to the way that the others are responding. So that way,
Mm-hmm.
if Mark Hamill does it differently, then that means that Kevin Conroy is going to do it differently.
right.
I have
Reacting,
to respond to him immediately. And there's actual acting that's involved in
right.
this.
Yep.
And
Well,
I think that's amazing. Like, that's super
yeah,
cool.
yeah. I would say you have to also credit Andrea Romano, who is the casting director and the
Yeah,
voice
director,
director.
yeah.
Yeah, she really did a good job of like direction and kind of like putting a cast because voice acting in like you know children's animation before that, I mean, you get like the same couple people and they're like, oh, let's get like Mark Hamill, let's get like I think like Mark Hamill is already voice acting, but like
He
you get
was. No, they got Michael Ansaro, who
Mhm.
did the voice of Mr. Freeze.
Yeah,
Like, they were
and
getting thespians.
right, yeah,
They
they're
were
like,
just
hey,
like,
let's try
go.
it for this, they went all out.
No,
but
yeah,
but
because the way that Kevin Conroy used to say that it was is he goes,
mm,
it was like going for a radio show.
yeah,
Andrea Romano would basically give you the scene. She would basically read off like scene one. This is what's going on. She would read the entire description, and then she would basically have us act it out
yeah,
like it is on the thing. So it was almost as if we were doing like the old fashioned like 1950s radio shows.
right,
And that's kind of a very interesting thing of going like, yeah, we're trying to give life to we're trying to do a radio show and they're animating over it.
yeah.
And that's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and just before we go to the next topic, I was gonna say like the performances of like everyone in the cast just amazing, and Conroy's still my favorite Batman, so, and he's still doing it like 30 years later. He's still playing Batman in like the video games, like he could still portray that character well. So got to give it up for Kevin
Well,
Conroy.
I don't know about Rob, but I know for me, whenever I read a Batman comic, I hear Kevin Conroy's voice.
Yeah, no, it's the same in terms of voice. Yeah. Um, yeah.
Definitely not Bale.
Bale's what I do around the house because it's funny. But when I picture, or I'm reading a Batman comic and hearing the voice, yeah, it's definitely
Yeah,
not Bale.
I always thought that I always thought
Do try to read
Bale,
every issue once as Bale just for fun, but like after you've done the serious reading.
Yeah.
because I thought doing Batman by Gaslight in Bale's voice would have been hilarious. Just because it's like that old English,
Right.
and you have Bale's voice.
Gotham by Gaslight, right? Because Batman by Gaslight's hilarious. I didn't hit
Gotham
you.
by Gaslight.
Or
No,
was it
you were the one who said we should go there.
Yeah.
I never said that.
Absolutely, yes.
Oh my
Gotham
God.
by Gaslight.
But
I misspoke.
but yeah, these first episodes were great, and we'll cover the next couple in the next episode.